Well, hey, you guys. So listen, with almost any rule in life, there's always some exceptions to that rule, right? It usually happens. I mean, family dinner table exceptions, excused absences from school for your kids, some exceptions there, PTO policies at work, at least a couple of circumstances there, that you could change or tweak just a little bit. Well, the same goes for money rules as well. So I've been teaching people about personal finance for well over a decade now. And even though I still stand on those same principles that I always have, I will admit there are a couple of exceptions when you really get into the weeds. So today I want to talk about my no debt policy specifically. And my advice still stands, but there are 3 circumstances where things, they're not as black and white. They may be a little gray when it comes to debt. So stick around till the end so that you can get the full scoop on exactly what I mean. But before we dive into my 3 no debt exceptions, I want to share a little bit about why I teach people to live debt-free in the first place. Okay, so living debt-free, you guys, not only from a financial aspect, but also from an emotional aspect, a spiritual aspect. Like there is something when you don't owe anyone money. So from just the mathematical side, instead of continuing to pay the bank interest and pay them a fee where they make more and more money off of you, what if you paid yourself that interest? What if your money was actually working for you and you got to keep that? So think about interest in one way. You pay it out when you're in debt. Or if it was your income and it came to your bank account and then you got to decide and have the freedom to choose what to do with it. So whether it was spend it or maybe give it or save and invest it, and then your money will earn money in interest, but it's actually going to you versus somebody else. So mathematically speaking, when it comes to building wealth, your income, when you can keep it all, that's going to get you further financially. It just is mathematically. But then there is that emotional, spiritual aspect that when you don't owe anyone anything and there is freedom and there is options in your life, you're not stuck in the same cycle where you are. And, if there's a point that you hate your job, but you have to make your $600 car payment and your $400 student loan and your credit card bill that comes and you charge everything on it. So, it's $1,200 a month that you got to pay. Like stuff starts happening. You have to stay where you are. There can't be this instability. Or if you didn't have payments and you had an emergency fund, you have the ability to have options. So that's just one area when it comes to freedom and options, is your career. But there's so many other things that it plugs into. It just gives you peace when you don't owe anyone anything. It is an amazing thing. And if this way of handling money sounds impossible, or you think there's no way I can be debt-free, can I just promise you that if you commit to following the 7 baby steps, you will start to see a light at the end of the tunnel. Because we have been teaching these steps for decades now. And again, it is a proven plan that has gotten people this idea of being in control of their money, but also building wealth, getting out of debt, getting an emergency fund. And on a tactical side, it walks you through a plan to really give you peace. So again, it's everything from building up an emergency fund to getting completely debt-free, having a fully funded emergency fund, even things like saving for retirement and your kids' college, paying your house off early, which sounds crazy to some people, but they're doing it. People are doing it. And then having no payments. And it's an incredible thing. So living with no debt and having these key 7 steps laid out that you start walking down, it really is going to give you financial success. All right, let's talk about though, as great as it is being debt-free, there is some exceptions to this. So are you ready for this? There are a few times that I will tell you to take on debt to get a loan. The first is if you are upside down on your car loan. So this means what you owe on the original purchase of the price of your car. Now you actually, if you were to resell it, you wouldn't get that much, okay? So this is really common and happened a lot during like 2020, 2021, when there was a lot of car shortages and all the prices skyrocketed. People went and paid top dollar for cars. And then once the market has kind of settled down, the car is not worth as much. So for example, let's say you have a $60,000 car loan. So you went and bought a car for $60,000, but you go to try to sell it today. Well, it's worth $50,000. This is where I would say, yeah, maybe you would consider taking out a loan for the difference. So maybe the difference there is $10,000, but maybe you take out $15,000 so you can go get a $5,000 car. And again, you have a $15,000 loan, $10,000 with the difference of the car, $5,000 for the car that you paid for. But $15,000 is way better to be in debt than $60,000. So when it comes to cars, again, this is one that I'm like, if you can get rid of your car loan, it is huge. If you can't pay it off in 18 to 24 months, or if it's more than half of your annual take-home pay, get rid of your car, okay? So even if you are underwater, get a loan for the difference. So that's one exception. The second exception when it comes to getting a loan is if you owe the IRS money. So if you owe a large sum of money to the IRS, there's a couple of options here. You can apply for a short-term or long-term IRS payment plan, which allows you to pay back what you owe over time. Now, the downside of this is that you're still collecting interest and fees until it's paid in full, but the upside is that you're able to start making some progress. Now, I'll be honest, that always makes me a little bit nervous because the IRS is pretty powerful and they can come in at any time and do a lot to your money if they have access to your checking account. So there's a part of me that I kind of just want them out of my life. So this is the second exception of when I would take out a loan is if I owed the IRS money. I would go take out a personal loan for that, pay the IRS off, get them out of your life, and then work with the personal loan that you have. So if you have a great credit union in your area, I think that that's a great place to go and take out that loan. And we always say too, if it's a small amount of debt that you owe the IRS and you can pay it off quickly, and I'm talking about like 30, 60 days, bump that up in your debt snowballs when you're paying off all of your debt. Even if it's not the smallest amount, pay it off first. But again, you want to get them out of your life ASAP. And if that means a personal loan, then so be it. All right, you guys, summer is here and school is out, and that might mean that your kids have a little bit more screen time. But keeping your kids safe while on those screens, yeah, that is stressful for parents. So let me tell you about a great way to give yourself peace of mind. True Play games. With True Play, you don't have to worry about what might pop up on their screens. True Play is one app with a lot of entertaining games and videos and more, all designed to help your kids build character and grow in their faith. There are no chat rooms, no ads, and no in-app purchases. True Play turns screen time into stress-free time for mom and dad. So go to trueplaygames.com/Rachel and get 20% off an annual subscription with promo code Rachel20. All right, finally, the third exception when it comes to taking on debt is pretty well known because we talk about it on the show a lot, but that is a mortgage. So a mortgage is the one type of debt we won't yell at you for because, listen, real estate, going and buying 100% cash is not very realistic for people. And the other great thing is that real estate is almost always an appreciating asset. So yes, you are going to have payments over time. You are technically in debt when you have a mortgage, but here's the deal. You're going to pay off that house ASAP. So once you get through baby steps 1 through 5, you're going to go work on baby step 6, which is paying your house off early. So now there are some rules around when you're buying a home to make sure that it's doable. We'll talk about those in a little bit. But again, generally speaking, when it comes to debt, a mortgage is the one type of debt that I'm also okay with. Here are a couple specific conditions to remember. Number 1, I highly recommend a 15-year fixed rate mortgage. Steer clear of the 30-year or adjustable rate mortgages. 15-year fix is great. Number 2, don't rush into a mortgage loan. Really make sure that you're buying a house when you are ready. And that means 2 things have to be true. Number 1, that you are debt-free. Number 2, that you have a fully funded emergency fund of 3 to 6 months of expenses. So if you have that, you have a really strong foundation under you financially to go and purchase a home. So then you're going to save up a down payment. And again, it can be anywhere from 5 to 20% is a really great range, but you can work to be a homeowner and it's awesome. So if you've ever had a high school English teacher who said to you that you had to learn grammar rules so that you know when you're allowed to break them, well, again, this is kind of like that. So practicing really good financial habits should always be your default. But it's also important to understand the few times that formula might be a little bit different. So make sure that you are making progress with your financial goals by doing a monthly budget. EveryDollar is my all-time favorite budgeting app. It is so great. My family and I, we use it literally every day. I open it up and look at it because it gives you control of your money. So if you have not tried it, go to everydollar.com/Rachel to create your first budget for free. And if you haven't yet, be sure to check out my episode about the 10 mistakes that can derail your debt payoff. All right, you guys, good luck on avoiding debt, except for those 3 options if that's you. So remember to take control of your money and create a life you love.